What's going on, guys? It's Justin with a quick Mazda Monday. Haven't been here the past couple weeks because, tuning gets busy and I've been waiting for parts to come in. But today, as you guys know, we were always looking for fueling mods. I found some more fueling mods. And today I just kind of want to cover what I found as far as fueling mods, and also kind of, because I know people have been seeing my old low pressure fuel pump video and they've been doing the old way of using the clamp, and there's an updated way, and I posted it in another video, but apparently some people haven't watched all my videos. So when people come to my channel and they're looking for the fueling video, I'll have all these attached, because I'm going to actually try to organize my channel and put different performance things in a section. Like I'll have a maintenance section, a section for different upgrades, and I'm going to try to organize my channel like that. So today I just kind of want to show you all the fueling mods that I've been able to find that are OEM from different manufacturers. And it's taken a while to figure out all these things. These aren't necessary for all the cars, but eventually you're going to want to, if you're going to push the limits, you're going to want to do these fueling mods. So today I'm going to just kind of go over the things that I've found: high pressure fuel pump, low pressure fuel pump, and injectors, right? And then I kind of want to just, I am going to be testing the injectors in the next week or so. It won't happen tomorrow because I'll be going snowboarding. But yeah, I want to just show you what I found, guys. Most people already saw it that are following me on Instagram or on Facebook. They've seen these already, but I want to share it to you guys who possibly aren't in these Facebook groups or on Instagram. So here we go. All right, so as you guys know, this was the first fueling mod that I found. It works for all 4th gens. So pretty much the Mazda 3 2019 and above, the CX-30 2019 and above, and also our CX-50s. All right, so if you look at this is the stock fuel pump. This is a LC500 fuel pump, also known as the GR Corolla fuel pump. As you can see, there is a size difference on these two pumps. This is the stock size, this is the upgraded size. Now, with this fuel pump, it can be used in a naturally aspirated model or the turbo model, right? And the only modification needed to make it fit is you have to cut a bracket, this yellow bracket. I'll show you in a picture. And you need to separate it. And the reason why you're separating is because the retainer, or like the bracket, holds in a pressure relief valve and the pump. So you just disconnect it so this can sit lower, and then you take a clamp and you wrap it around it. Don't do it vertically like it was in my original video. You're gonna do it horizontally. So I'll show you in a picture. But yeah, that's our first mod. It works for naturally aspirated and it works for turbo. The benefits in the turbo model is very noticeable because fuel pressure and boost are relative to each other. If your fuel pressure drops, so does your boost. On the naturally aspirated models, you won't notice it much unless you need the fuel, like with the superchargers. But I do recommend this mod to every single person because the cars just operate smooth. All right, so now we're gonna move over to our next mod, and it's actually our newest mod. So I actually just found this. This is a CX-90 high pressure fuel pump. And this high pressure fuel pump, I mean, the CX-90 just came out. So this hasn't been on the market very long. This pump is about $800. I got it for a steal on eBay. I'm not gonna disclose the price, but the cheapest I found these online that you can get it for, besides the price I got it on eBay, is $563. And there was only 2 available of these. Now, if you see next to it, there's another pump. I have another high pressure fuel pump. This is a naturally aspirated high pressure fuel pump. All right. And so you can see there's a clear difference between the naturally aspirated and the turbo fuel pump. So this is for a 3.3 liter turbo CX-90. But if you look on a 2.5 liters, the pump is going to look identical to this. All right, so you are not able to open these pumps up because they are a sealed unit. And they all have like the same size spring on it. The diameter is the same. The difference between the NA pump and the turbo pump is on the NA pump, the fuel pressure sensor is on the fuel rail. So this is a fuel rail from a naturally aspirated model. As you can see, this is the fuel pressure sensor. All right, on a turbo model, the fuel pressure sensor is on the fuel pump. All right, so this applies to the 2.5T and the 3.3T. All right, so that's the difference between, you know, the NA pump and the turbo pumps is the sensor is actually on the high pressure fuel pump. Now, I know a lot of naturally aspirated guys, they're wanting to use this bigger pump. Well, I don't know if it's bigger yet because we got to test it first. But in my theory, I believe the piston in the inside of here is bigger than here, but we won't know until we test it because you can't open these pumps. And if this pump ends up making the same pressure that the 2.5T pump makes, that means the difference is not the pump, and the difference is the cam that drives this. There's a cam lobe on the exhaust cam and it drives this. So the stroke is determined by the cam lobe. So if this pump goes on the 2.5T and it makes the same pressure, it's either software related or the cam lobe on the 3.3 is just bigger, and that might be what we need to modify. We don't know yet until I get this tested. I am going to send this pump, because I don't have a turbo car, I'm not going to try to test it on my car. I'm going to send this to a customer with the turbo model because it's plug and play since the sensor's in the same location. Now, if you look at the sensor on the inside of this pump, this turbo pump, there's 4 pinouts, right? Now, if the NA pump would have had 4 pinouts, I would have probably adapted it, but there's only 3 pins on here, and I don't want to try to figure out what does what. So it's better just not to mess with that. The voltage is probably going to be different. I believe it has 4 pins on this one because there's 2 pressure relief valves on the low pump. On the NA, there's only 1 pressure relief valve. And you'll see it if you do this mod, you'll see the bracket you're cutting is for the pressure relief valve. There's only 1 on the NA models and there's 2 on the turbo. All right, so this is our newest mod, like I said, and it's the most expensive. Like I said, they're about $800 new. I got one for a smoking deal, can't discuss it, but you can get these for about $563. I'll leave the link in the below if you want to purchase it. But for right now, I would wait on purchasing this until I do all my tests because I don't want you going to buy an $800 pump and it ends up being the same as a 2.5T pump. All right, so we're going to test it to see if there's actually a difference with the pump or if it's just the cam lobe that's bigger and it's causing a better stroke. All right, and then our last mod over here, we have fuel injectors. So obviously this is a stock injector. This is a EcoBoost injector from a 3.5 liter F-150. All right, so if you look at these, they're pretty similar. Mazda has been using the same injector since 2011 in their Skyactiv, right? So this is a Skyactiv injector, standard. They've been the same since 2011. The difference is they have different nozzles, like the tips of these. So I'm going to try to see if I can zoom in and get a good picture. Maybe I won't, but I'll just add a picture in here. But the difference in these injectors is the nozzle and the holes that allow the fuel to flow out. The cars that have, very restrictive nozzles usually have higher pressure, but they can't flow as much fuel. So I can't get it to focus on this one, but I'll show you in the picture what I mean. And so if you look at the Ford, it looks exactly the same, except the holes. So you see how this has got it's almost raised compared to how this was like flat. There's a little bit of difference, but there really isn't a difference because on the 1.3 and the 1.5, they have this raised nozzle. But anyways, the nozzle holes on this Ford one are bigger than on the Skyactiv, which allows more flow. Everything else is exactly the same, just about. The connector's a little bit different shape, but the actual connection point is the same on this one as it is on the Mazda. They're just at a different angle if you look at them. They're exactly the same. And one thing I did notice on the Ford injector is if you look at the Ford injector, I was looking for differences, and I was like, what is this going on right here? So if you look right here, there's these 2 little rings. All right, see this right here? On the Mazda injector, that's not there, right? And I'm wondering why this one had these rings and this one didn't. I looked on a whole bunch of different Mazdas and they didn't have that. So like I was saying, they've been using these injectors since 2011. Ford didn't use these injectors until later. So Mazda had this design before Ford. And so what they did was to make it fit in their engines like they wanted to, they added these like spacers. So these are like washer spacers. And I'm gonna show you real quick. You can take them off pretty easy. So this is you're gonna have to take this off, these spacers off, in order to get it to fit right like the Mazdas. Because if you look at the top over here, how they're differently, they got this on there. So they're not gonna sit flush into the head of the cylinder head unless you remove these two. So let me see if I can set my camera up. And I'm gonna show you how to take this off. Let me grab a box right here. All right. Pretty simple. Let's go ahead and, if I can get my camera set up. So this is the Ford injector, right? And so what I'm gonna do is, there's a retaining ring. There's a retainer ring on here. So what you're gonna do is, you know, I don't know if you got good nails or not, but you take off this retaining ring. I'll show you. See this retaining ring? You take that off. And then once you take that retaining ring off, you can now remove those two spacers. All right. Now once you remove those two spacers, you're gonna take that retaining ring and you're gonna put it back. It just snap back in place. Yep, almost lost it there. All right, now we got that retaining ring back in place. Now, come here. And now, as you can see, I took those spacers / retaining, or those washers off, and now they look exactly the same. So that's just something you're gonna have to do before you decide you're gonna put these in your motor. You're gonna have to take off these two spacers. And like I said, the reason why those spacers were probably there is because this was designed for Mazda first and then Ford adapted it. Like I said, 2011. And I think most of these are for like 2000. I'd have to go look if it's 2012 or 14 or whatever. But I know most of the vehicles that use this are 2015. This was put in the Ford RS, like type of injectors. So we'll find out. I'll find out the year. I'll add it in the caption if I find it. But pretty much, yeah, so this is your fuel rail. And yeah, these are the injectors. Like I said, this is all the stuff. And like I said, these are the 3.5 EcoBoost injectors. This is the stock Mazda injector. And now there's one other set of injectors I want to show you. I'm not sure if we're actually going to use these yet. I don't know if anybody will unless we run out of fuel. I doubt anyone's going to run out of fuel anytime soon unless they're using full E85 on the turbo or if we come out with the Cork Sport turbo. All right, so here is another EcoBoost injector, right? So this is exactly the same as this 3.5 liter injector. Now the difference is DW has modified these injectors. Now this isn't a straight up DW injector. This is a refurbished version of it. So it's a DW. It's designed exactly like DW. It might actually be DW, but it's a refurbished 1700cc injector. So technically these are supposed to be about 1200cc and a Mazda is about like a 900. I don't know the exact, but I know these are 1700cc's, which is overkill. Nobody should be using these yet, but we'll have them if anybody needs to use them. But now the difference is on the nozzle, like I said, Mazda has a small one, 3.5 has a little bit bigger one, and then you get to the modified EcoBoost injector, and what they did was they drilled a hole in the center. Now I can't get this camera to focus on this iPhone like I can on my Android, but maybe if I use one of these other settings, I'm not going to try it right now, but they drilled a hole in the center, which if you look on the spray pattern for, you know, the EcoBoost and the Mazda, the stock ones, OEM ones, there's the holes all the way around it. And that's to distribute the spray pattern even. They have the holes all the way around on this one, but then they also have a hole in the center, which gives you almost like a stream. I don't really want a stream. I want the spray to disperse. So I don't know how well these will work, but if you really need the fuel, these might work. I mean, the DWs do work in vehicles, but I would personally rather have an even spray pattern and the drivability be great. So I'm gonna send these out to a customer along with a set of stock EcoBoost. If he runs out of fuel with this one, then we'll go to this one. But until then, I say we use this and make the most of it. Now, with having bigger injectors, you're gonna need an upgraded pump because, well, you don't necessarily need it, but you can't run the pressure you want to if you upgrade the injectors and now the hole's bigger, so the pressure is gonna be lower. The bigger hole, lower pressure, smaller hole, higher pressure. So in order to run this injector, you're gonna need an upgraded pump, high pressure pump, because as soon as your fuel pressure drops, like I told you, your boost will drop. All right, on the NA, that's not gonna be a big deal because if we add a supercharger or aftermarket turbo, the boost is gonna be independent of the fuel pressure versus on a 2.5T, the boost and the fuel pressure are not independent. They interact with each other as a safety feature. All right. So, yeah, that's pretty much it with the fuel system. Like I said, this is the fuel rail. Then the fuel injectors go in here. I'm going to be taking the 3.5 injectors, and I'm going to be installing it into the second gen to run some tests on it to see if we can get it to spray correctly. I'm not going to touch these. These are going to go to another customer, but we're going to test these in our 2.0 liter. Since the motor's already blown, there's no risk of worrying about flooding it because the motor's gone. So that will be the perfect car to try these 3.5 injectors. Now, there is a car in Thailand that is running the 2.3 EcoBoost injectors. I'm not sure if it's exactly the same as the 3.5, but I got the idea from him, and then I found the 3.5 injector. All right, so like I said, this pump will be going to my Pure 500 customer. We'll be doing cold start logs on this to see if the pressure is different with the stock pump versus this pump. If there's no pressure difference in it, then guys, you don't need to buy this pump. And what we really need to do is get a bigger cam lobe. So yeah, that's it, guys. Small, short video today. Just kind of want to go over what I've been up to. We got fueling upgrades from low pressure, high pressure, and injectors. So we got it all covered. Not saying you need any of these things, but we have them if we do need them. But I really do recommend that low pressure pump. No tuning required. All 4th gens should get it. If you don't have a 4th gen, you can get the Fab 9 pump for the NA models. If you're turbo, you already have the Fab 9 pump. If you have like CX9, CX5 turbo, or Mazda 6 turbo, your stock pump is the same as the Fab 9 pump. And if you want to upgrade a pump, you will need to get a DW300C. So if you guys want to skip the Fab 9 pump, a better pump upgrade that is comparable to the flow of the LC500 is going to be the DW300C. All right, and I'll leave a link below for that. And I think Fab 9 actually carries that pump as well. But yeah, that's it for today, guys. Catch you later.